Our birthday calendar is brought to you by ABC Blinds and Shades. Next up, News Extra, brought to you by Gehring Civic Center. Here's Kevin Mooney.
One more birthday to add to that. My daughter Tammy is happy birthday today.
And you're fudging on the date or the year?
I'm gonna fudge on the fudge on the. I'm not
Okay.
telling you how old my daughter
You
is.
started to.
I started to, but I go, that's probably not a good idea. So just happy birthday to Tammy today. All right. Okay. Congressman Adrian Smith is our guest today on News Extra, and he has been out patrolling the 3rd Congressional District, which takes a long time, doesn't it?
Well, it does take a while. We just completed a 10-day swing last week, at the end of last week, and I'll be on the road all this week as well.
All right. So when do you guys go back?
After the Democratic Convention, first week in September, is the convention, and then we'll follow that.
Okay. So you have a while yet to go out and talk to folks about what's going on. I kind of have an idea what they're talking about, what they're telling you right now. They're frustrated. They're maybe angry. All those things, because that's kind of the way I am. But kind of let me know what they're saying.
Well, I think they're excited that we might actually be talking about some issues. Enter Paul Ryan to the national mix now, and we're talking issues. I think it's important that our country tackle the specific issues that we know we need to. It's very interesting how President Obama, he cut over $700 billion from Medicare to address Obamacare, and so actually we have proposed, Paul Ryan leading the way, and some various changes have been made here and there, but we have proposed actually strengthening Medicare for the long term without impacting current and soon-to-be seniors. Those 55 and older would be exempt from any changes. And then moving forward, though, younger folks understand that they've been paying in, and certainly they would prefer, I would assume, to receive some benefits for which they paid.
All right. So anyway, so we're going to talk issues, but we can do all the talking in the world. Is anything going to actually get done?
Well, we need the votes to do that. That's the issue right now. First sign of a strong democracy is a strong minority. Well, that's we've got a system in Washington where things are not designed to move quickly. That doesn't mean that I endorse gridlock. But we've passed 30 to 40 bills in the House that address economic issues that the Senate won't even take up, and it's just pretty ironic how that doesn't seem to get a lot of coverage, especially in the mainstream media, where there's just ignoring those facts. And it's interesting that
I question that. The mainstream media has said that the House is passing things that don't have a chance of passing in the Senate. There's basically the mainstream media is saying that you're passing things in the House that look like a political statement that really have no chance of getting anywhere in the Senate, where you two guys would compromise.
But let's take a bill that would reduce the number of regulations on boiler plants. That was not a political statement. That was a scientifically based approach to recognizing what current technology is. There are political games played against that, various other things, but it's just interesting. We're a full year ahead on the Farm Bill of where we were last time.
Okay.
Now, Republicans didn't have control of either the House or the Senate, and we're still a full year ahead. I don't hear that processed out in the airwaves either. So there are realities there. I mean, you take the Farm Bill that is roughly 80% food stamp spending, nutrition spending, namely food stamps. And 12 years ago, we spent $18 billion. This year, we'll spend $85 billion. The committee proposed a 2% cut after the program has basically more than quadrupled over the last 12 years. What we need to do is we need to get an amendment that will address that, and I think we can get this job done sooner rather than later.
Can we get it done by September 30th, the expiration of the Farm Bill?
That's certainly my hope. I think there's good reason to do that. But I also hear the whole issue demagogued out there that ignores the facts. And the facts, I mean, like in committee, there was an amendment that was voted down because there was some deal made previously that would basically keep the high numbers of spending for the food stamps. And we know that there are problems in that program of people having access to those who don't qualify, who would not otherwise qualify, but they found a loophole, and that costs taxpayers a lot of money.
Okay. So is it possible that we can address the food stamp issue, and maybe, because I know you guys wanted, the Republicans want a little more in the way of, most of them anyway, in the way of cuts in the food stamp program than what's being suggested by the Ag Committee. Am I right?
That was probably
That was
accurate.
probably accurate? Yes. Okay. So, but the fact of the matter is, when you look at the Farm Bill and the need for something to be done right now before this Farm Bill expires, and with the drought and everything, is there a possibility here that we can look at this thing and say, okay, as Republicans, we can compromise a little bit, take less than what we're looking at? Maybe, can you address maybe some of these other things with cuts in food stamps and the appropriation process in the upcoming years, and let's get something done with the Farm Bill that the farmers really need right now and need this taken care of before September 30th?
Well, before we left Washington, we took a vote in the House and passed a disaster relief package for agriculture that, now it was the last day of session, so I'm not even going to say the Senate should have taken it up before they left.
The Senate should have taken it up. I agree with you.
Time-wise, it was very difficult. We'll see what they do when we get back.
Hopefully they will.
But I know that there were senators specifically lobbying against it. The chairman of the Senate Ag Committee, she was lobbying against it because she wanted the whole Farm Bill. Well, knowing that we have a process, and that let me make this point. When we stick to process, it works a lot better. It is these attempts to get around the process. You know, we should have a Senate version, a House version, both passed, and then we go to conference committee. That's where the compromises get worked out.
Yeah.
Well, this time they decided to supposedly have this compromise in the House Ag Committee that I would think they would have known would not pass the full House, given that that high number of dollars spent on the food stamps. And so, you know, I don't want to second guess the committee chairman and so forth, but the fact is we need to get a House version passed, even though we know that it probably won't be the final version. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
So when we stick to the process, you know, last year we stuck to the process on the Ag Appropriations Bill. It was a compromise, and that's how we restored the opportunity to process horse meat responsibly.
Yeah.
And that's just one example. But when we let the process work, and when we have the priority of the process being in place, we can do a lot better.
Well, when Senator Johans is here tomorrow, I'll ask him what they're going to do about the livestock situation and getting that bill passed and getting a compromise with you guys done on the Farm Bill, because it truly needs it. Let's talk briefly, because we're running out of time. You've got some tax reform roundtables, and I think both of us agree that something needs to be done with the tax code, and let's get after it, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm hosting 2 tax reform roundtables to hear from citizens themselves. But I'll tell you what, I've never heard anyone say that our current tax code is acceptable. There is unanimity across the land in terms of describing the need to address our tax code. Now, some would say right now we just need to raise rates. Well, we know we've got all sorts of other components to our tax code that are really broken. Loopholes galore, tax preferences that create such a complex tax code that it has increased the cost of compliance. So just figuring out how much you owe has become a burden, not to mention how much you actually owe down the line. So we're working through this. The president has even suggested lowering the corporate rate. He knows we need to be more competitive in the world. Now, a lot of details need to be worked out, but right now, letting tax rates go up is not the answer. I think of a small manufacturing here in the area that maybe 40 employees who tells me that the estate tax, the death tax, would devastate their business. Devastate. Those were her words, not mine, and unprompted. So we need to address things like that, because January 1st, the estate tax goes back up to 55%. That's confiscatory in most Americans' minds, and certainly we can avoid that.
All right. So your roundtables, and folks, really, if you want to provide some input into this and help the congressman out with what we really need in the tax situation, you've got a couple of tax roundtables real quick. One of them in our area tomorrow, right?
Right, in Sidney tomorrow, yes.
Okay, and the one in Sidney is 9 to 11 a.m. tomorrow. There's a media availability at 10:30, but anyway, hopefully some folks will show up tomorrow in Sidney and let you know what they really would like this woman did.
Right. I mean, it's very clear what we should do with our tax code. It'll be a heavy political lift. There is no doubt about that. That doesn't mean we should just ignore it. We've got tough decisions to make. Let's make them. I think that looking at the whole national political dynamic, people are excited because Paul Ryan has really looked at these issues, offers a very legitimate alternative. You know, Paul Ryan has represented an Obama district. He has represented a district that has not only voted for Barack Obama, but also Al Gore. And he's been able to communicate a message of fiscal responsibility that I think the American people are very hungry for.
All right. 9 to 11 tomorrow over in Sidney for that tax roundtable. Help the congressman out here a little bit.
You bet.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.